His hands were tied behind his back. The crowd watched in silence. His crime? Stealing a single loaf of bread to feed his starving family. He thought he was stealing one meal. He had no idea he might be sacrificing his life. There were no prisons. His little son broke free from his mother's arms and ran toward him, but a soldier grabbed the boy before he could reach his father. His wife could do nothing except watch. For thousands of years, scenes like this unfolded across civilizations. There were no prison cells, no prison guards, no life sentences. A thief could lose a hand, a murderer could lose his life, a traitor could be publicly tortured. Justice was often swift, mercy was rare, and your fate depended on the customs of your time. Take a deep breath and travel back with me thousands of years, to a world where one desperate decision could change your life forever. A world where prisons didn't exist, and where the punishment often began the moment you were judged. Before we begin, I have one question for you. Among all the crimes you've ever heard or seen, which one do you think deserved ancient-style justice instead of a prison sentence? Tell me your answer in the comments. Now, let's go back to where this extraordinary story began. As soon as humans began living together, they faced a problem that has never disappeared. What should be done with those who break the law? To ancient societies, the answer was surprisingly simple. Justice had to be swift. Justice had to be seen. A thief wasn't locked away behind bars. A murderer wasn't sentenced to years in prison. Instead, punishment was carried out immediately, often before the eyes of the entire community. It wasn't designed to change the criminal. It was designed to frighten everyone else. The message was unmistakable. Break the law, and let your punishment become a warning to others. They believed fear could accomplish what prison walls never could. For thousands of years, that belief shaped justice across much of the ancient world. The prison, one of the most recognizable buildings in modern society, simply didn't exist. To the people of the ancient world, locking criminals away, feeding them, and guarding them for years would have seemed almost unthinkable. As far as they were concerned, once justice had been carried out, the matter was over. For thousands of years, humanity believed this was the only way, but history was about to prove them wrong. More than 3,700 years ago, one king believed he could bring order to his kingdom by carving justice into stone. His name was Hammurabi, ruler of Babylon. Imagine walking through the heart of the city. Towering above the crowd stood a massive black stone covered with hundreds of laws. Every merchant, every farmer, every craftsman knew that once those laws were broken, the punishment was already waiting. Justice no longer depended entirely on a ruler's memory or mood. The law stood in stone, and everyone lived beneath it. But what those laws demanded would shock many people today. One law declared that if a builder constructed a house and it collapsed, killing the owner, the builder could be sentenced to death. To us, that sounds unimaginable. To the Babylonians, it was justice. They believed severe consequences protected innocent people. Somewhere in Babylon, a builder stood before the city's judges. His hands trembled, not because he denied building the house, but because he already knew what the law demanded. There would be no argument, no negotiation. The stone had already spoken, and Babylon wasn't alone. Across the ancient world, civilizations created different laws, but they shared a common belief. Justice belonged in the open. Punishment belonged where everyone could witness it. The purpose wasn't simply to punish the guilty. It was to remind everyone else what awaited those who chose the same path. For thousands of years, humanity believed this was the only way to keep order. But history was about to take its first small step toward something completely different. Nearly 1,000 years after King Hammurabi carved his laws into stone, another civilization rose to dominate much of the known world. Its armies conquered kingdoms, its emperors ruled millions, its laws shaped history for centuries. It was Rome, but hidden beneath its magnificent temples, crowded markets, and towering monuments was a place few ever wanted to see. A man sat alone in complete darkness, heavy iron chains wrapped around his wrists. His execution was only days away. This wasn't his punishment, it was simply where he waited for it. The Romans called these holding cells carceres. Unlike modern prisons, they were never meant for long-term sentences. Criminals weren't locked away for years. They were held only until the real punishment arrived. One of the most feared places in Rome was the Mamertine prison, a cold underground dungeon hidden beneath the city. Many prisoners entered through its stone doorway. Very few ever walked back out. One Roman writer described the air inside as so foul and suffocating that breathing itself felt like a punishment. To the Romans, prison wasn't justice. It was only the place where justice waited. The sentence still came later. Execution, forced labor, public humiliation. The prison itself was never intended to be the punishment. For hundreds of years, that idea remained almost unchanged. Yet, without realizing it, Rome had introduced something new. For the first time, criminals were being confined before their fate was decided. It was a small change, but history's greatest changes often begin with the smallest ideas. The Roman Empire eventually collapsed. Its emperors disappeared. Its mighty legions became history. But one belief survived every king, every empire, and every war. Crime could only be controlled through fear. Generation after generation, nothing changed. Crowds still gathered to witness justice. Prisons still weren't the punishment. Then, after thousands of years, something extraordinary began to happen. A handful of philosophers, judges, and reformers dared to ask a question no civilization had seriously asked before. What if fear wasn't enough? What if punishment alone couldn't stop crime? What if some criminals weren't beyond saving? It was a dangerous idea, one that challenged thousands of years of tradition. Among those who embraced that question was an ordinary Englishman. He wasn't a king, he wasn't a judge, he wasn't a politician. He was simply a man who believed something was terribly wrong. One visit to a prison would change his life, and eventually change the history of justice forever. The heavy wooden gate creaked open. John Howard stepped inside. Within seconds, he wished he hadn't. In 1773, the English sheriff had been asked to inspect one of Britain's prisons. He expected to find criminals serving their sentences. Instead, he found human suffering on a scale he had never imagined. The smell of rot filled the air. The stone walls dripped with moisture. The cries of sick prisoners echoed through the darkness. Men, women, and sometimes even children were crammed into filthy cells with little food, little clean water, and almost no hope. Then Howard discovered something even more shocking. One prisoner had already been declared innocent, yet he remained locked inside, not because he had committed another crime, but because he couldn't afford the fee required to leave the prison. For Howard, this wasn't justice anymore. It was cruelty. Unlike so many others before him, he refused to walk away. He traveled across Britain, prison after prison, recording everything he witnessed, every filthy cell, every starving prisoner, every injustice. 4 years later, in 1777, Howard published a book called The State of the Prisons in England and Wales. It exposed conditions the public had never seen. The book shocked Britain. Lawmakers could no longer ignore what was happening behind prison walls. Howard never argued that criminals should escape punishment. He believed justice was necessary. But he also believed prisons should never become places of needless suffering. His work inspired reforms across Britain, then across Europe. And for the first time in history, people began to see prison differently, no longer as a place where punishment waited, but as the punishment itself. John Howard died in 1790, but his fight for justice did not die with him. Others picked up where he left off. Among them was a young Englishwoman named Elizabeth Fry. She believed prisons could do something the world had almost forgotten: give people a second chance. When Fry first walked through the gates of Newgate Prison in London, she stopped in disbelief. Children slept on cold stone floors beside their imprisoned mothers. The smell of sickness filled the air. Many prisoners had no beds, no clean clothes, no education. Elizabeth Fry knew something had to change. She brought food to the hungry, warm clothes to those shivering through winter, and classrooms to people who had never been given the chance to learn. Many dismissed her ideas, but slowly, prison officials began listening. While Fry was changing lives inside prisons, another English thinker was reimagining the prison itself. His name was Jeremy Bentham. Bentham believed that even the design of a prison could influence the people inside it. He imagined a circular prison called the Panopticon, where a single guard could watch every prisoner from one central tower. Although his design was never fully built as he imagined, his ideas transformed the way governments thought about prisons. Together, the work of John Howard, Elizabeth Fry, and Jeremy Bentham changed more than prison buildings. They changed the purpose of prison itself. For the first time in history, prison was no longer seen simply as a place to hold criminals until punishment. It was becoming a place where society hoped some lives could still be rebuilt. The age of public punishment was fading. The modern prison had finally begun. Across the world today, millions of people wake up behind prison walls. Some have been convicted of terrible crimes. Some are still waiting for trial. Others will one day return to their families and begin a new life. None of them would recognize the justice system of the ancient world. Over thousands of years, prisons spread across the world. Public executions slowly gave way to courtrooms. Confinement replaced immediate punishment. Many nations began to believe that justice should protect society while also giving some offenders the opportunity to change. Yet the world still cannot agree on what prison should truly be. To some victims, prison represents justice. To many families, it represents protection. To others, it is proof that the system still has much to improve. The debate continues to this day. But to understand how far humanity has come, we have to return to where our story began. A hungry father, a single loaf of bread, a desperate decision, thousands of years ago. The law saw only a criminal. His punishment would have been immediate, public, merciless. Today, in many parts of the world, that same man would stand before a judge. He would have the right to defend himself. He might receive a prison sentence instead of execution. And perhaps someone would ask a question that ancient civilizations rarely stopped to consider. Why did he steal the bread? That single question may be the greatest change in the history of justice, not because humanity stopped punishing crime, but because it slowly began trying to understand it.